Hi there, guys. My name is Ice Burglar. I'm going to be doing a video essentially talking about how to maximize your profit while in raid, specifically on Shoreline. Shoreline has one of those exclusive items, which is called LEDX, the LEDX Transilluminator. And that is essentially the single most valuable item per slot in the game. Obviously, you could put red key cards, you could put blue key cards in the mix with that as well. But we're talking about items you can find consistently. So we're gonna start to look at what we do to go into that map. So our goal is to make money. One of the things we have to think about is how much money we're spending on our kit. But there's a point where if you lose or die, you could be losing somewhere in the vicinity of, let's say, a mil plus if you're running a really high budget kit. If you're running a meta M4 slick, an Alton or an exfil fully modded, you're running 995 or 55A1, you've got a raid backpack, you could lose somewhere in the vicinity of 1.2, 1.5 mil, maybe even more. So what we're thinking about is being conscientious of what we're running, value-wise, as well as trying to make sure we have the ability to stay alive and we can win a fight if we come into that situation. All right, so we're on our actual our inventory screen, and we're going to kind of break down the choices that I've made and why I choose these particular things when I'm going to the Shoreline, specifically to the resort, to try and make the most money that I can. So first things first, we got our ears. So we got M32s here. M32s, for me, are essentially budget Comtac 4s, which are the new headsets that came in this last wipe that are like 90K, and they're amazing. They really reduce ambient sound. They're awesome. But if we're thinking budget, if we're thinking we don't want to drop nearly 100K just on our headset, my next option is the M32. They have a very similar sound. They're not too bassy, they're not too high-pitched, but they definitely let in a little bit more ambient sound. I like these. You can buy them on the flea market for somewhere in the vicinity of 23 to 24K. Then looking at the Ratnik helmet right here. So the reason I like this helmet is it's not a level 4 helmet, which I would love it if it was, but it's extremely budget. There's 33K from traders, and sometimes you'll catch them for even less. Big reasons I like this helmet is it protects ears, it protects top, and it protects nape. So it covers all around, and it's high ricochet chance. It is level 3 as well. So again, it would be awesome as level 4. You could look at getting something like a U-lock, but you can't run a U-lock at nighttime, and part of our process is running this at nighttime, and we'll talk about why in a little bit here. Then we're going to go over here. So I'm streaming, and I want to make the viewing more pleasurable for you guys. That is a weird word to use for that. I want to make it nicer for you guys to look at. But if you're looking to, reduce your costs, you don't want to spend $200,000, and you want to spend something more like 30 or 40, my suggestion is going to be this guy right here. So this is not one piece. I think a lot of times people are confused where to get this because they're like, I've never seen this before. This is 3 parts. So we've got the actual night vision goggles themselves, we've got an adapter, and we've got the mount. These are really easy to find. Skier sells this. He sells it for 32. People will sell it for less as well. Once you've found this item right here, you're just going to do a link search. You'll find the adapter. Do a link search again. You're going to get the mount. Really easy. They're always available, and it's like level 1 Peacekeeper and like level 2 Skier. It doesn't matter what balaclava you wear. I'd recommend wearing one. The face models in Tarkov are really shiny, so they make you a little easier to shoot at night. Wearing a balaclava just kind of makes you less visible, surprisingly. So they're actually kind of useful. So this is an armor that I think is really underappreciated in this game. When people think budget, they think of the diaper rig, the 6B3 TM. This is a great armor, don't get me wrong, but it's really limited carrying space. It is level 4, it has great repairability, but it's only 40 armor points. What I'm going to recommend to you and what you saw there is this guy. You can buy this on market. It's 76 here, but usually you can get it between 55 to 60 on market, and it's 55 HP. It's also level 4, and it gives us the option to run a rig that has more carrying space. And then you got a couple options on what you can do for rig. There's the tried and true classic. You can run like a Triton. If you're just trying to be as budget as possible, you could run like a bank robber. My recommendation is the azimuth, and you can check. There's 2 different azimuths. Both of them have a very expanded size. They're both a full grid more, so 4 spaces more than a Triton. If you take this one, the black one, I think on market right now is 32, and from traders it's 39. they'll often get down to 24, 26, and there's another azimuth you can check as well that's the same exact thing with a different color that might be less too on flea market. You're not spending 50K on a black rock, so on and so forth. And then, here's an interesting one. If you don't have a Pilgrim, running something like a Beta is a good idea. They're 60K, a lot of space, they're great ergonomics, and you can stack them in other bags. But a lot of people tend to have Pilgrims, but they feel like they can't wear them because they're really easy to see. You should run your Pilgrims at night. It's not going to affect anything. Most people are going to have NVGs on. If they don't, they're not going to be able to see well anyway. But if they have NVGs on, this is just going to be green, and it's going to look no different than an Attack 2 or like a Raid backpack. All right, so our last part, we're talking gun. I love the P90. It's tried and true. It's fairly budget. If you get the unlock early, M cables are usually only like 25, 30K. For 60K, you can get an entire loadout P90 that has the long barrel and is essentially the same recoil as the fully modded suppressed P90. So looking at it here, the only modifications I made is I put the LS321, and the D-ball. Both of those have an IR laser and a floodlight. Super useful, and I tend to run them at nighttime. I really like the D-ball as well, because then you have a flashlight option, but this one only gives you laser that's seeable when you don't have nods on, and then floodlight and floodlight laser combo. So then in my mags, I'm bringing like 4 backup. This is one of the more spendy things you have to do. The P90 mags, they're a little expensive, to be fully honest, but you know, it's worth it. I'd say 4 is probably enough. They have a very, very slow reload, so you don't only want to do like 2 because they take forever to pack and it rips through ammo really fast. So I'd recommend having like 3 to 4 mags for backup. We're running L191, which is a little more budget than SS190 in everything but our first mag. So in here we have SS190. This is the best round for the P90. It has the most pen and a pretty solid damage output. It's a great headshot bullet. It's going to go through most level 4 helmets. It's awesome. L191 is pretty damn close. You've probably seen people talk about the 6B193 meta, and that is essentially there is a bullet that you can run the P90 that is super, super low recoil. It will reduce your recoil by, it's like 20 or 30, so the P90 is just even more of a laser beam. But it has extremely low bullet travel time. So outside of really close engagements with the P90, which you'll end up in, it's going to move very, very slowly, and your tracking is going to feel really off. So I tend not to like to run that ammo. Otherwise, it's great ammo. You can run that as well. That's also pretty accessible. I think you can get it earlier than you can get L191, and it's pretty cheap as well. But L191's my second best option, and that's what we're going to run because we're going a little bit more budget. And then the last thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to toss on our meds, right? So I tend to run a Calic, right, which is one of these guys right here. It's a 3-use hemostat. This fixes heavy bleeds instantly. It's very, very fast. Very useful to have. Recommend having that. Depending on how much space you want to conserve, you could either run a Salewa, an IFAK, or an AFAK. I'm probably going to go with the Salewa. I tend to like running the full 400, and they're faster than AFAKs. It does take a little more space, but that's all right. You kind of have to weigh your decision, but I'm probably going to run an SJ6 even if I'm trying to go budget. Getting into the resort before anybody else is really important. It's extremely useful because, one, you're going to have more information. You can wait for people to come in and know if they're approaching, and you can get to all the priority spots we're trying to go to make money first. Final thing, it's nighttime. We could potentially grab some nades. I would say grenades are not a priority. Grenades don't function the way they used to. You used to be able to quick draw grenades where essentially you were pulling and throwing in the same motion, just one click. Now, when you pull out a nade, you're readying it, pulling the pin, and then throwing it. They can be extremely useful still. I tend to use nades for like hurting and making people move. I would say tops, if you were going to bring nades, go with your cheapest option, which is the F1, and maybe bring 2, just in case. Again, every slot that you take up is a money trade out, right? It's a value trade out. These 2 slots, the Salewa, those 2 things, and even the hemostat are making it so I can get less out of the raid. So you got to keep that in mind. You might like bringing a lot of nades, but if you bring 7, 8 nades and you don't end up using them, then you're just dropping those nades to pick up other value, which maybe it's worth it, but you're losing value for no reason. So just keep that in mind. We are going to get our backup ammo set with some L191. I'd like to carry 2 stacks of ammo extra in here. We've got a great time for nighttime. So 2309 is a great time to go in. So 2130 is when it starts to officially get dark. 2200 is when it's actually dark, full dark, and cultists can spawn on any map that they spawn on. They do spawn on Shoreline, so we'll talk about that when we're in raid. 5:30 is when it starts to get light, the sun starts to come up, and 6 o'clock is when it's officially daytime, and any cultists that are on the map will disappear. Thinking about being budget, what are some of the things that we might get back? And what are some of the things that we can almost guarantee we won't? This armor, early game, we probably don't get back. Late game, right now, we probably do. Ears are always a great one to pick up. Everyone has preference on ears, so there's a chance no one's going to pick up yours if they like a different sword. If they like sword-ins, if they like tac supports, if they like contact 2s, or if they only run contact 4s or anything like that, right? So you got to keep that in mind. The helmet itself and the night vision that you are probably running, the cheaper night vision, probably aren't going to get grabbed. It's a level 3 helmet. People will look and be like, meh, whatever. The P90, not so much. But the magazines, people might strip your bullets, but they might not take your mags. So I like to insure my mags. A surprising amount of people aren't going to take pilgrims. Again, it's because they're like, that's a big blueberry bag. I can only use it at nighttime. Maybe I don't do a lot of night raids. Whatever it is, I don't really take it. So we're going to do that.